And basically, the first thing that they taught us about is 4 criteria when you're doing a sales process. It's either value, budget, timeline, and it's that person that we're talking to, a decision maker. Okay. Yeah. So these 4 factors, no matter what you talk about what you're selling, they say, oh, you need to get these 4 points out of that conversation.
This is Andrian.
And this is Ray. Welcome to the Talk Lab podcast.
Every 2 weeks, we'll invite a new guest and
in every session, we'll dig into their life, relationships, and perspectives.
one question at a time.
Let's talk lab!
Yay. Welcome to the Talk Lab podcast. This is Andrian.
This is Ray.
And today we're going to talk about something that relates to us personally, and that is sales. So in this episode, because it's so related to us, we'll separate into a few parts. And the first part, we're going to talk about why we're going to talk about this topic, because it might be irrelevant to some of you, but I think we have some takeaways that we want to share. And the second one is some sales methodology that actually Ray said that he learned it somewhere that I haven't really heard of it. So I'm just going to be a listener on that part. And the last part is why sales is important and how it affects our daily life, because sales it doesn't seem like it's affecting everyone, but it's basically in every part of our daily lives, and some key takeaways. So we're just going to really dive right into it, and we're just going to pass back to Ray, because how basically you decided to do this topic, like what made you want to
Sure.
do this?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks very much, Andrian, for doing that very great introduction as always. But yes, dive straight into the topic. So the first one is actually why we decided that we wanted to cover. So I think from my standpoint, that's like what we discussed. I think there's both internal and also external factors. Yeah. Internal being like, I'm sort of not really 100% as a salesperson, but I think my role, the work that I do in technology, is very strongly anchored on sales. And that's why I think we should cover that. And there are actually a lot of good things, bad things that happen that sort of shape who I am. So that's internal, like I'm really in the industry and also being a seller in technology. The second one would be more external. So basically my relationship with my friends, family, and your different people. Like when you meet for the first time, people will just have an impression about salespeople or a particular seller. So I also wanted to cover the good things and the bad things on those impressions. Because when people think about salespeople, people have a certain mindset or thought about that, which we can touch a bit more later. So there are good things and bad things. And then I think some people will really think, salespeople are very pushy. Salespeople are, very cunning. They're very numbers driven. They love money, materialistic. So those are more. So I think it drives from both internal and external. But I think we both are here to agree to actually debunk that everyone out there is actually a sales. And there are takeaways, like if you know how to use sales as a methodology or use it soft selling, like your daily interactions are sales. So that's some context on why we decided to cover and the importance of covering this topic to our listeners.
Yeah. So I think we really want to talk about this, and the first part is what's people's impression on sales? Because for me personally, I think whenever I say that I work for a property, people would just immediately assume that I work for, like, I'm trying to sell them a property. But then I need to explain that, I don't actually do that. I'm actually on the leasing side. I need to rent out like spaces to people who are looking to actually sell their own products or their service. And I need to explain to them, because in Hong Kong, I think overall people have a negative connotation on people who do sales, and especially on agent, because they would be like, keep on giving you a name card. Do you want to look at this property? And then they're really aggressive, sales driven. And I try to not be in that stereotype. So I guess that's a negative part. But I guess you can also say that they are more like, the positive side is that they're very numbers driven. They're smart. They know how to sell stuff. But I think that's basically my impression on salespeople and people and my experience on that. But whenever because Ray is also a sales, but he sells like platforms or like tech stuff. Yeah. I think you get a better connotation, right?
I think yes and no, but I really wanted to touch upon, because you are sort of like in the space, real estate, agencies, So do people actually, when they think about real estate sales, they always think about you flipping houses or something, right? And then you get a big commission. Do you get that a lot? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Okay.
They would assume that I earn commission, and even some of the tenants that we recruit, they sometimes think that we are just agents, like people who work for like Midland or like 中原地產 those kind.
Yeah, I think I got your point. Yeah, like I think I sense your frustration, especially when people think about real estate and then agents, and then they think about you as like those people that help people to rent houses and sell houses, and they earn like a cut,
Yeah.
a middleman thing. Yeah. So I think from yours, like you actually add more value to your tenants or
Yeah.
people that you bring into, and how you co-market and go to market or do profit sharing.
Because it's something like a win-win situation. You don't just go there and you just want as much money as possible, because sometimes that case is not the best case. So it takes that part out of the equation, and it tries to maximize the value between the landlord and also the tenant in order to ensure the survival. And I think that's the most important part of being like a leasing side in a property developer, the biggest difference between them and the agents. So
Yeah.
but it's very easy to correlate the two sides.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So maybe just going back to my point, and
Yeah.
since we're in real estate and then talking about the impressions of people having on agents, it could be insurance, it could be real estate. I
Yeah.
think these two are the most consumer centric. If you're out there as a normal person in this world, you'll be encountering insurance agents and real estate agents like the most, and these are like the impression that people have about salespeople, which I'm here to also stand on both sides, because honestly, like I'm not here to also say like, okay, those people are very salesy. Of course, like different people have different ways of doing, and sometimes there are more than others, or like they went through a certain experience and then everyone just sort of have that mindset that they are. But honestly, all jobs are equal in the world, and as long as you're finding some sort of fulfillment in that, and you add value to it, because there are really damn good agents out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can really feel the difference.
Yeah.
And you feel like, oh, you're willing to, always consistently find them. And that's because, yeah, they sort of like done that whole sales process,
Yeah.
sales methodology, which I think we can then swift into. But I think since Adrian asked more from my perspective, like my perspective on, sales in the technology sector, I think it's actually very similar, right? Like cross industry and all. It's just like, okay, the industry itself is probably more, hyped. People think tech is so great and everything. Oh, we're doing a lot of digital transformation, digital initiatives. Technology is the future. Yeah. So I think that's like the benefit to be in the right industry. Okay, there's no right or wrong industry, but I think hot
Yeah,
industry,
hot
like the
topic,
hot
yeah.
topic. But honestly, every industry exists for a reason, because the whole world is like an ecosystem, and different industry plays their part to make sure the whole world functions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't want to touch too much about that, because it's actually very similar. So maybe I think we dive into the second part
Okay.
on the sales framework, methodologies, etc.
I was gonna jump
Yeah,
back
go-
into the
go for
personal
it, go for
experience, because I was thinking, because there are also two kinds of sales that we sort of mentioned. The first one is insurance agent. I think people really correlate to sales, like insurance agent as a sales, that they're really driven on the amount of commission they earn, and I think it builds like a sort of negative, especially in Hong Kong, that the negative connotation or negative image on people who do insurance, because they just keep on bombarding you with like this plan and that plan, and that they earn basically your first year of like premiums or even more, and you just somehow feel like they're lying to you of sort. That's why it also builds a negative image in terms of overall sales.
Yep.
And I think we can talk about the sales methodology and include
Yeah, sure.
the other part. So
Sure.
we can just jump to sales methodology. What is something that you have learned, you said, that you shared with me?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to touch
Yeah.
on, because I think the insurance part is something so important, right? Like
Yeah.
everyone, like now I may sound like an agent, but I think like everyone should at least have a basic critical illness plan. You don't need a lot, but it's like a hatch just in case. Yeah, because I actually just going through that process, and I think it's actually it's a necessity. Yeah, but I think going back to the point why it's like negative, because I think it's just the way certain sales organization
Yeah.
is being built at its core.
Yeah.
And insurance is such a like it's called MLM, right? Multi-level marketing.
Yeah.
So it's basically a pyramid scheme. Yeah. So I don't want to touch too much about, maybe like if you guys are interested, we can actually we've known people that, you know, have pivoted their careers into being an insurance agent. Maybe we can get one of them up and share about, you know, their perspective, you know, how they actually do good and etc.
Yeah.
That
They
would be
bring
interesting
they
to
bring a
cover.
lot of value, obviously.
For sure.
Because it gives you the hedge, it gives you the security, gives you the ease of mind to sleep at night, knowing that even if you have any issue, that you have something to rely on. So the sense of security is really there, and I think there's a value in insurance. You just need to find the right agent, find the right plan for yourself. So we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to dive into the next topic now. So the framework of sales. So I basically just don't have much of a methodology.
Because you expert lah, you pro. But I mean,
That's why I need to move somewhere, right?
yeah. So I think there's no right or wrong framework
Yeah.
or process for sales. There's a lot of people have different ways of doing things, but maybe for those, you know, audience that are listening that are not really in the sales role, but to be honest, everyone's a seller, and we'll get to that point later. So I'm just gonna share like a quick takeaway on, you know, the stuff that I've learned from my first job, second job, and all, and how that is applied in the sales process, and at the same time how that might work and how that might not work. Yeah. So basically, I think the at its core, I think I learned this at my first job at Meltwater. It's a software as a service company. And basically, the first thing that they taught us about is 4 criteria when you're doing a sales process. It's either value, budget, timeline, and is that person that we're talking to a decision maker. Okay. Yeah. So these 4 factors, no matter what you talk about what you're selling, they say, oh, you need to get these 4 points out of that conversation. So when you're pitching a product, is this product valuable to you? Is this what you need? Yeah, then we hear the feedback. Oh, okay, if there's value, because value is the most important. If there's no value, there's no point discussing about the other factors. Then you ask, okay, is the budget there? The timeline? Are you the person that's able to sign? Yeah. So that's a very, very straightforward way to think about basic sales methodology. Because all sales processes, at the end of the day, just rely. You need to have all these 4 factors, and then the deal will close. So that's very sales 101. Easier said than done. When you actually do it, you find like, oh, okay, very uncomfortable asking, very pushy. Yeah. But I think like that's like a very good framework to follow when you're a junior. But I think down the road, like so far, I think about almost 5 years of work experience, right? I realized that, you know, a more better or like overall methodology to go about it is really to, you know, spend more time with the person that you actually want to deliver the value at. Yeah. So I'm from, you know, Microsoft, right? So let's say I cover a lot of customers. I think the most important part is actually being involved with the customer. Because with that, like, okay, you don't talk anything about your products or services. Of course, initially you might, you know, say, okay, you're from Microsoft, you can help on X, Y, Z, but not too much. Really just spend time to let them talk. Because when they talk, and then you also have to facilitate by asking the right questions so that you can get out the real pain points, the real underlying problems that they're facing. What's the agenda that they want to drive in their organization? Then you get an idea like, oh, okay, you know this person, what kind of mindset he's going through, what he wants to achieve in his career, what pain points his team is facing, whether with his boss, his people below him, and then because those people own a particular business process. And then once you know all that, that's when I think great salespeople are the ones that, okay, that's when you actually correlate the product that you're selling or the solution or the service that you're selling to meet and target those pain points. And if it matches, basically you guys get married. The sales process happens very easily because there's value. You have the solution to meet it. Then it's like capturing the timeline, the budget and everything. But if the value is strong enough, the budget comes very naturally. Timeline is a bit hard because like if you cover government, everything is a tender. That's something that you always have to look into it. So that's something that, yeah, I've, you know, sort of progressed and learned. as a technology strategist at Microsoft, but I think it can be applied to anywhere. And for people that think like, oh, salespeople are very pushy here, that actually yes and no, right? Because there's a lot of different ways of doing it. But the people that do it well, or like everyone have their own way, but they really need to, whoever that can understand the customer better, their pain points, and map their services. I think those are the people that do well.
Yeah. You've been on, and I realized you actually do know that you're actually doing something that you haven't realized is something called motivation interviewing. It's basically listening and asking the right question to facilitate the conversation and just let them talk. And you dig out even more on their value, their side, their understanding, and what do they want to achieve, basically. You're basically doing that without knowing you're doing that. I've read that in one of the books.
Very cool, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I resonate with that.
Yeah, so I think it's a really good skill set to do and to, I think, to understand people more, because what we discussed in the briefing that between us is listening skills is more important than your convincing skills. Because if you understand someone, understand their point of view, you can basically correlate to it and try to give out your sometimes you don't even need to give out your understanding. You don't need to be rebuttal or give them like what you should do, this, but to actually listen and try to accommodate and try to think in their perspective in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and I resonate with that. But I also wanted to touch the point that, you know, that's really a very high level. It's easier said than done. You actually have to try and iterate on your own to find your style and what works best for you. But very important to know your value proposition. Yeah, because that's when your mapping comes in, when you actually understand. So if your you have, I think, like that's where, you know, the stereotype of salespeople come in, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, people that typically extroverts. Yeah, why extrovert? But I think extrovert, not all extroverts are good, right? Because sometimes they just
Too much?
like they sort of too full of themselves, right?
Yeah.
They think they're so good, and then like whatever they think that they can sell. So that's actually sort of make the whole industry, or like people that are having this seller title, like, oh, such a bad impression, right?
Yeah.
The good ones are actually like, okay, good listeners, they understand. But I just wanted to say, like, okay, it sounds simple and all, but when you're actually doing like a job as a seller, it's also tough, like, to handle the quota. That's how company grows, right? Yeah. So I mean, spending time with customer, all that is great. It takes a lot of time to build all this, and sometimes the deal might not land because the pain point does not match your business offering that your company is working for. As a friend, of course, it's fine, right? You have you resonate, but that's the part where I feel like a lot of people behind the scenes don't really think about, like, okay, because I think if you're working for an American company or a big public organization, or like even in the finance, you're all tied to a quota. Yeah. So whether you're like in the tech world, technical sales, or like really a sales account manager sales, everyone's compensation is tied to some sort of revenue that you bring into the company. So that's done yearly, monthly, quarterly, depending on what company or organization you're in, and being able to plan your pipeline and all. Yeah, but this is really sales as a job. But I think I just wanted to give that mindset that even the framework and all, you're good at it, but how you funnel it to forecast something that is good, that's actually something that, you know, I've yet to master, and I don't think I can I think it's always a continuous learning process. Yeah. So just want to throw it out there before we jump into the real meat.
Yeah. But how do you manage the stress? Like, I think a lot of people, they might have thought of sales before, but the sales target, how do you manage the stress? Like, because amount of sales means you have the pressure to reach a target. What if you don't? What was the mentality for it? Is there, from experience, do you have like a mindset for that?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, right? I think, like, you know, right? You have a quota and everything. Like, but for me, the way I look at it is like, honestly, if you've tried your best and you show like you've tried different leeways or motions to drive and try to experiment, life goes on. Yeah, just pick up the next day and then rebuild. Because if you're a very good seller, you end off a year at a good note, you're always on reset to zero the next year. So that's the mindset that I always have. And if you don't do good enough, of course you feel like shit. Like if you compare with people that, you know, meet their target and everything, and if you're the only one in the team that hasn't met it or not delivering well, then of course you feel the pressure, right? And then of course the pay is on your line, like your commission is on the line. Yeah, so I think a healthy way to think about it, there's no right or wrong, but just think that as long as you've done your best, just like whatever you do in your life, right? As long as you've done the best, you've spoke to the people, you got advice, you got feedback, and then within your capacity in that moment, you've done the best. Of course, there's always things you can do better, right?
Yeah.
Then you should feel pretty good about yourself. Yeah. And if you hit the target and everything, that's a bonus. If not, then yeah, I think always consistently reflect on what can be done better. Yeah.
I think one of the critical skills from out here is to be a good sales. It takes really good self-reflecting skills, right?
Yep.
It takes you time to refine your skills. Is that one of the biggest skills that you think someone should have in terms of sales?
I think
Obviously
yeah.
it's like selling skills,
Yeah.
but then what's the part when you are coping with like
the
down-
stress and
yeah.
everything, downtimes, right?
Yeah.
I think for me, because I'm really a people person, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very vocal when I'm not feeling well. And I find the right group of friends or allies within the company, and also my relationships like you, we talk about that. But I think the people that really understands the stuff that you're going through are the people within your company. Because they, even though they're a different team, but they understand like, oh, okay, I understand that why, and you know, the structure within the company. And yeah, having these kind of allies, I would say,
It's important.
it helps, and
Yeah.
it gives you confidence, motivation, and yeah, you're able to then pick up the
Yeah.
next day.
For sure. So I guess we can go to the next point, and that is why sales is important. We could talk about sales for so long. How can we
Sorry
talk
for
about
boring you guys, but hopefully it was
Yeah.
like useful takeaways so far.
I think, which hopefully the next part will tell you why is it so important, why we talk about so many things about sales, because sales is in our daily lives. But how? Why is sales in our daily lives?
Yeah, I think so far when you guys are hearing, you know, why we talk, like, you know, the structure, why we're talking about sales, you know, both of us, we have our own perspective. And I think we did spend too much or like more time than I expected to cover about the methodology and the framework, because we did touch about our experiences and all. But how does it link to you guys, or like to us as like a normal citizen or someone that is living on planet Earth as a human beings, right? Because as long, like if you think about it, human beings, what are we? We are social beings, right? We have to communicate with a lot of people, and that makes us sort of superior compared to other species on Earth. I know it's a bit deep, right? But if you think from that standpoint, our interaction, our communication have led us to go to a common goal to achieve the greater good for planet Earth or the society. And because of that, right, you can imagine communication. That's communicating an idea or asking someone to do something for you, part of daily life. That's all part of sales. Like, I think if you guys, that's a long way to answer the question or like a takeaway, but your daily interaction with someone, with your friend, or when you want to present an idea at work, it requires some sort of selling skills. Yeah, so I don't want to like generalize, you know, sales is just like, oh, if you're doing a sales job, then you're a salesperson. Like, you have to enter the world with the mindset that everyone is actually a sales to some extent. It's just that some people get labeled as salespeople because that's part of their work and the KPI that they have quota. But honestly, if you're a marketing person, marketing director, marketing manager, when you want to get budgets and everything, you want to sell your plan on for the next 6 months, what KOL group you want to focus on, that's part of making your idea, getting people buy-in, convincing. So that's actually a selling process.
Yeah, or even we were talking about like very simple things. I'm asking you, oh, do you like the Ray's new watch, right? You basically are sales on convincing that, oh, why is this watch nice? You're basically still asking someone to buy it on your perspective. That's also sales in some way. So I think we think that everyone is a sales, whether you like it or not. And
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
And since you brought that example, right? Something so simple, right? Like, because we as human beings, yeah, I might go off a tangent a bit, but we as human beings, right? We like to conform,
Yeah.
or we like to mix with people that, have the same thoughts. So we are consistently selling our ideas and think how are we relate, like how we all form and stand for the same values, right? If you think about it.
Yeah, I think in Homo sapiens in general.
Oh yeah, homo, right?
Yeah.
Just
They
one.
they try to stay in a group and pretty much stick with people that are in the same mindset with them. And that's why we're trying to sell each other like the mindset and the whole group. But also sometimes it's good to have a new perspective. Also someone to challenge you on your existing thought and just don't be defensive. Like I'm reading that book that telling me that. But yeah, overall it's trying to sell each other the mindset, the methodology, the why should someone believe in what you're saying and what you are believing is the right path. So I think that is why being a sales is in our daily lives, right?
Yeah, and I think with that, I think the takeaway is clear enough. Hopefully, you guys have had some sort of takeaway and value from this kind of open and honest sharing, sort of impromptu. But hope you guys enjoy this kind, like really just episodes with Andrea and myself, and you guys understand more about our thought process, perspective. So this is it. This is about sales and sales methodologies and how sales can help you live a happier, better, more fulfilling life. All right.
All right. See you guys. Bye.
Peace out.